The cafe sat on the corner of a busy street in the heart of the city, tucked into the first floor of a tall office building. Mornings were always loud, the hiss of espresso machines, the sound of shoes tapping across tile floors, and people calling out orders over the hum of chatter. It wasn't fancy, but it had heart. People came there for the coffee, but they stayed because it felt warm, familiar. Like home. The workers upstairs loved it. Some even came down twice a day, once for their caffeine fix, and again just to escape their desks. That's how it was for Sandra. She worked in accounting on the 4th floor, and the cafe had become part of her daily rhythm. Marcus was there almost every morning. Not behind the counter, but always helping, wiping down tables, fixing chairs, even jumping in to carry supplies when the staff was short-handed. He wasn't loud or flashy, just calm, well-dressed, and always smiling. People assumed he worked there, but no one really knew his job. Still, everyone liked Marcus. He had a way of making people feel seen, but not everyone saw him the same way. And one woman, in particular, saw only what she wanted to. She had the kind of attitude that filled a room before she even said a word. The staff behind the counter gave her polite smiles, but she didn't even look at them. She strutted past the line, and straight to the front, cutting in like it was her right. He was near the counter, helping a barista restock napkins and lids. Without hesitation, she waved a hand in his face. "You," she snapped. "Boy, my coffee is cold. Fix it." Marcus blinked, but didn't flinch. His voice was calm, steady. "I'm not on the coffee team, ma'am, but I'll let someone know." She scoffed loudly. "Figures. You can't even do that right. What are you here for then? Just standing around pretending to work?" Sandra sat in the corner with her laptop, frozen mid-sip. Her stomach turned. Marcus didn't deserve that. Nobody did. Still, he didn't raise his voice. He just gave a small nod, and stepped back. A barista quickly fixed her drink to calm things down, but Karen wasn't done. She rolled her eyes, muttered something about lazy workers, and walked off as if nothing had happened. Sandra wanted to speak up, to say something, but the moment passed too fast. Instead, she just watched Marcus return to wiping down a table, like the insult hadn't just hit him straight in the chest. She told herself maybe it was a one-time thing, but it wasn't. The next morning, Sandra arrived at the cafe hoping for a quiet start, but just like the day before, Karen was already there. This time she didn't waste any time. From the moment she walked in, she made loud, snide remarks about the staff. When Marcus greeted a customer with a warm smile, Karen scoffed loudly and muttered, "Why is someone like him even allowed near customers? Shouldn't he be somewhere cleaning floors?" Sandra felt her cheeks flush with anger, but stayed silent. The other customers looked uncomfortable, some whispering quietly. Day after day, Karen returned. Each time her words cut sharper. She would talk about respect and proper place, making it clear she believed Marcus didn't belong there. One afternoon, the cafe was crowded and noisy, but Karen made sure to raise her voice. "Lazy," she said loudly, pointing at Marcus. "Incompetent, and just a distraction to the real workers." Instead, he took a deep breath, nodded politely, and continued with his work. Sandra watched it all, heart sinking. She knew Marcus didn't deserve this treatment. His kindness was clear to anyone who took the time to look, but Karen seemed determined to make a scene. That day, Sandra pulled out her phone, and started quietly recording. She couldn't let this go unnoticed. She took notes on every rude comment Karen made, every time she belittled Marcus. She wanted to protect him, not just for Marcus, but for anyone who had ever been judged unfairly. But what Sandra didn't know was that Karen wasn't finished yet, and what happened next would change everything. In a way nobody expected. A few days later, Karen took her anger a step further. Instead of just complaining in the cafe, she marched straight to the manager's office. Her voice was sharp, full of demand. "I want Marcus fired," she said firmly. "He was rude to me yesterday. Aggressive, even. This kind of behavior is unacceptable." The manager, a middle-aged woman named Linda, raised an eyebrow. "Rude? I've never had a complaint about him before." Karen didn't back down. She said Marcus was unprofessional and lazy. She even claimed he had been ignoring customers on purpose. Linda listened carefully, but looked troubled. That afternoon, Karen sent an email to the corporate office. It was filled with accusations, claiming Marcus had been hostile, disrespectful, and incapable of doing his job. Everyone who worked there, knew Marcus as the calm, helpful man who always went out of his way to be kind. Many had watched Karen's rude behavior firsthand. They were shocked that she had turned the story around so easily. Marcus was called into a private meeting with the manager and a representative from corporate. The tone was serious but gentle. "We need you to step back from customer service for now," the manager explained. "There's an investigation happening because of a complaint." Marcus nodded quietly. He didn't argue or try to defend himself right away. Instead, he accepted the decision with calm dignity. But Sandra noticed something in his eyes, a deep hurt, like a weight pressing down that no one could see. Marcus packed up his things and left the cafe floor that day without a word to anyone. Sandra's heart ached watching him walk away. She wanted to help, but she wasn't sure how. The tension in the building grew. What was really going on, and who was Karen really? The answer would come soon, and it would surprise everyone. 1 week later, the office building was buzzing with activity. Upstairs, in the company's sleek headquarters, a big board meeting was about to start. The air felt tense but important, like something big was about to happen. Sandra was at the front desk that day, helping to set up for the meeting. She arranged chairs, handed out name tags, and answered questions from visitors. That's when she saw her dressed in an expensive suit, sharp heels clicking on the polished floor. Karen walked in like she owned the place. She pushed past the receptionist, without a word, acting like she was more important than everyone else. Sandra noticed the way Karen looked around, eyes full of judgment and entitlement. She even overheard Karen speaking down to the receptionist, asking if the CEO was really worth meeting. She was a potential investor, she said, hoping to get a chance to work with the company. The contrast was striking. Just days ago, Karen had been causing trouble down in the cafe, yelling at Marcus and making scenes. Now she was acting like a powerful businesswoman, walking the halls of the very company Marcus worked for. Sandra couldn't help but feel curious, and a little suspicious. Who was this woman really, and how did her story connect with Marcus? The answer was about to come, in a way no one expected, because just then, the CEO walked into the room, and Sandra froze. She recognized him immediately. It was Marcus. The door to the boardroom opened quietly, and all eyes turned as a tall man stepped inside. He wore a sharp, tailored suit, carrying a leather folder filled with papers. His calm presence filled the room instantly. It was Marcus. Sandra's heart skipped a beat. The same man from the cafe, the one Karen had been treating so poorly, was not just an employee, he was the CEO. Karen's confident smile faltered. Her eyes widened, and her face drained of color. For a moment she looked like she wanted to disappear. Then, trying to save herself, she forced a smile. "Marcus, what a surprise to see you here," she said, her voice shaking. "I didn't know you worked here." Upstairs, Marcus nodded politely but kept his tone steady and professional. "I own this company," he said simply. The room fell silent. Everyone watched the scene unfold, the tension thick. Marcus looked directly at Karen. "Do you remember how you treated me at the cafe last week?" His voice was calm, but there was a clear edge beneath it. Karen blinked, swallowing hard. I don't know what you're talking about," she stammered. Marcus reached into his folder and pulled out several printed pages. He handed them to the group around the table. They were copies of her complaint emails, filled with false accusations and disrespectful remarks. The room was quiet except for the faint rustle of paper. "If this is how you treat people you think are beneath you," he said, "then you are not the kind of person we want to work with. We value respect and kindness here." Karen's face twisted in shock and shame. She tried to speak, but no words came out. Marcus closed his folder and turned to the board. "We will be ending any discussions with her immediately." Sandra watched in awe as justice quietly took its place. Marcus didn't shout or make a scene. He didn't humiliate Karen loudly. Instead, he handled it with grace, strength and dignity. In that moment, Sandra realized something important. Marcus was exactly who he seemed to be, a kind man, who deserved respect, no matter what anyone assumed. She had no choice but to face the truth she had tried so hard to hide. Karen was quietly escorted out of the building by security, her face pale and full of shock. The confident, entitled woman, who had strutted in just moments before, now looked small and defeated. Whispers followed her down the halls, as people who had heard what happened shared the story in hushed tones. Back in the cafe and offices, word spread fast. Everyone who had seen Karen's rude behavior and Marcus's quiet strength now knew the full truth. Marcus wasn't just a helpful man around the cafe, he was the company's leader, and he had handled the whole situation with grace and calm. To many, Marcus became more than a boss. He was a symbol of kindness, patience, and strength in the face of unfairness. People began treating him with even more respect and warmth, grateful to have someone like him leading the company. The company itself released a short public statement about the values they stood for: kindness, respect, and integrity. They didn't name names, but everyone knew who the message was about. Sandra smiled quietly, proud to have witnessed a moment where justice was served, not with anger but with dignity. It was a reminder that kindness always wins, even when the world tries to say otherwise. Sandra often thought about what had happened, how staying kind, even when it was hard, made all the difference. Marcus still came down to the cafe sometimes, quietly helping out like nothing had changed. But now people looked at him differently, with respect, appreciation, and even a little awe. His kindness hadn't gone unnoticed. And maybe that was the real lesson. You never know who someone really is beneath the surface. Kindness costs nothing, but hate can cost everything. Sometimes the strongest people are the ones who choose to be gentle.